Let's start with the Olympics. But one of
Yeah.
the earliest events to be held is the shooting, like air guns. Like that's an Olympic sport. Um,
Oh, okay.
and what I find really
Um,
interesting is that you see pictures of other competitors and how they have like really nice outfits, like
yeah.
they have really sophisticated technology. Like
Yeah.
they compete with an eye patch and like a magnifying glass in the other eye just so they can be that accurate. I'm
Okay.
gonna put a picture of this right now when I'm editing, and that's sort of the look. Like it's like some cyberpunk shit, you know? Like
Yeah. Pretty much.
in the cyberpunk world, that's the person that's trying to kill you. That's what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, so the guy that won the silver medal was a man from Turkey, and he showed up. He just only wearing a gray shirt that says Turkey and some sweatpants, and he doesn't have any gear other than his gun. And he managed to pull off silver.
She's really invested in the Olympics at this point. It's like he knew he was too good for the Olympics and he just packed whatever the fuck he had in his closet. And then he just shows up, does this thing. He's like, all right, I'm going back to the bar. Let me know whenever the Olympics are over.
I personally didn't see that competition, but I thought it was pretty funny. And a lot of the discourse online has been making jokes that that guy was secretly an assassin, and he only went for silver because people are gonna start to suspect. Hey, I'm Emilio,
Hey, I'm Ryan.
and welcome to the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast.
We're two friends that have only ever met through the internet.
Join us as we talk about our lives in this epic show.
And the show starts now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm here with my good friend Emilio. How are you doing, Emilio, this
Yeah.
evening?
Hey, no, not too bad, Ryan. It's really good to be doing another episode of the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast with you once again. Have you been getting up to any exciting activities recently throughout the week?
No. Other than planning this epic prank, you guys got pranked. Actually, I'm Emilio, and that's Ryan.
And I am Ryan. If you guys need to know the difference between the two of us, I know it's really hard to tell us apart nowadays.
Yeah, we both wear glasses, I know. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So one of the first segments we do here on the show that we didn't do last time because it was the inauguration show. We're gonna do so. We're just gonna talk about our week. We're just gonna, update the other person
Mm-hmm.
of what we were up to during the week. So Ryan, what did you do?
So, outside of a very busy work week, because you guys know I work a full-time job if you guys listened to the last episode, throughout the week, I did a number of fun things actually. I went to the county fair in my state. I live in Maryland, for those of you who didn't know, and decent distance from my house, about an hour away. There's a county fair that's held. There's usually one I go to every year with my sister. That's in Pennsylvania, but we decided to change it up and go to a place around a city called Oakland, which is with this big resort area that has like a lot of yachts, multi-million dollar homes, all that fun stuff. It was genuinely fun. I went there yesterday evening at the time of recording. Went around, rode a few rides, the Pharaoh's Fury, the giant swing rides that you guys might recognize that take you high in the air. Ate some good food there, looked around some livestock shows. It was a pretty fun time the other evening. I enjoyed spending time with my sister. In addition to that, I have a home renovation update from what I mentioned last time as well for my weekly recap. One day I am going to do a house tour of the house, but it's just going to be like a 3D projection I pulled off of Google Maps of what it looked like 10 years ago. And that's going to be what
Don't
I
do
show you
that. You're
guys here
gonna
on the show.
dox yourself.
Okay, forget what I said there. No Google Maps involved. I'm not actually doing that, but I do have an actual home renovation project update. The house did not fall down, like what Emilio said. I've been working on various different parts of the house, like I described last episode. Still have stuff like renovating the bathroom and the roof. It's the house that I'm moving into. It was my great grandmother's house, so it's been in my family for about 120 years. Believe it or not, that house has been around since it's been around since about the 1890s, through about 6 generations of my family, counting myself. So, that being said, we've been doing a lot of work to it. We just finished today putting in a patio outside. We got a bunch of brick tile, laid down gravel, leveled it off outside in the yard, put it down there, added some lawn chairs, put a fire pit in, and as of this recording this evening, went down and enjoyed a nice evening around the fire before we started recording. So, that was another fun project. Yep, it's another fun project I got up to today without, again, pulling up any Google Docs images. I don't want to dox myself on Google Maps, so. But
Well,
that's basically
technically,
what I've been up to.
everybody's doxed on Google Maps. You just don't know who lives there.
What about you, buddy? What have you been up to?
Well, this week my mornings were basically just watching the Olympics. Because they're in Paris, time difference. So all the cool events that they hold that they like they save for the night or when I'm having breakfast. So, I got back from the gym or practice, and that's about it. So basically what I like train, I don't really know because I still don't know why I'm doing it. But my aunt, she trains to run a marathon. She still hasn't done like her first marathon. She just did like a 10K. But I decided to join her because I thought it'd be fun. And yeah, I liked it a lot. I like it a lot. And I went to train this week, and my aunt recovered recently from an injury, and so I trained with her again. This was the first time that I followed her pace. Which I don't know if it's her full pace because she just recovered from an injury.
I was going to say too, I thought you were going to tell me you attempted to do this, but then you forgot your inhaler at home and passed out right at the start line. And didn't even make it.
No, I don't have asthma, but we just did 2 kilometers, which is not a lot. But yeah, it was just like
fun.
No, she's training for a marathon. You don't run a marathon.
Her, on the first believe. Day. You,
Ryan, I don't think anyone would believe you, so you're not one to talk.
Dude, what would I do when I got muscles like these? Forget a marathon or weightlifting competition, dude. Now that I got unlocked.
Yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this like training because I run a lot. But I still don't know if I want to run a marathon. But yeah, so I did that. Then I just did work. It was pretty boring. I just sit at the computer with Premiere Pro open and edit videos. So basically what I did for the show. Then I also planned a trip. I'm going to South America in September, so that's why I can't train for a marathon in a month. Which I feel like it's physically impossible to train for a marathon in a month. But I
would agree with that, actually.
I'm going to South America, so I'm going to Brazil, to Sao Paulo. Argentina, I'm going to Buenos Aires. And Uruguay, I'm going to Montevideo and 2 other cities. So we talked about this briefly in the last episode. So to Brazil, I'm going to the opening game of the NFL season. That's where they're having the international game. That is the Philadelphia Eagles against the greatest team to ever have played,
the Pittsburgh
Green
Steelers.
Bay Packers.
Sorry to spoil it. Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, I said the best team. And it's going to be cool. I'm going to be 2 days in Brazil.
Nice.
So basically, I wasn't planning on going to Brazil. Like originally, I was just going to Argentina and Uruguay. But when they announced that the NFL game was going to be in Sao Paulo and that weekend I was going to be in Buenos Aires, I booked my flight and then I got tickets. So I'm going to go to the game. I was planning what else I could see in Sao Paulo, and basically I'm just going to go to a lot of museums there. There's a bunch of art exhibits on the same avenue, which is Avenida Paulista. And apparently, the Sao Paulo metro system and public transport system in general is quite efficient over there.
Yeah.
Um, because I have a friend over there, and I was talking to her, and I was like, Brazil is the most expensive country in South America for tourists,
Right.
and so what she recommended was that I took public transport because Uber would be incredibly expensive, with it being the second largest city in the continent, right after Mexico City, um, and ahead of New York City. So if it's like the same exact prices in New York, I'm a bit scared. I'm on a budget here, um,
Yeah, you're be
and
spending quite a bit of money for going off of that payment
and
ratio.
I'm gonna go just for 2 days, so I want to see as much as I can. So yeah, the museums is my priority. I'm going to a couple of them. I'm going to the game, obviously. Which something I don't like is that the NFL accommodated kickoff times to for the American audience. So the game is at 9 p.m. local time, which would be like afternoon in the States, in like
Mm.
Philadelphia and Wisconsin. So it would be like what, like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., which is like an agreeable time to go
Something
to a
like that.
game. And so I'm doing math in my head, and I'm like, the game's gonna end like at 11 p.m. and it's gonna take like an hour to get out of the stadium, and then it's gonna be another hour for me to get to my hotel. Luckily, I
Usually on
got
this,
it's gonna be like I'm gonna be at home at like 1 p.m. 1 a.m. Um, so that's what I don't like. 'Cause, like, dude, I'm used to like going to the stadium here, and it ends at
yeah.
11. Maybe you can celebrate the win, but at 1 a.m. I'm gonna be like, I don't, dude. I just got off a 3 hour flight. I'm tired. I'm not gonna do
I
that.
I really hope for your sake the Packers win that game if you're gonna go
It's
that late at night.
it's the Philadelphia Eagles. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. But
not to throw shade on the Rivers.
I think I mean, I don't want to get cocky, but I think the Packers can maybe win this. But
So they have a good
that's not what
chance.
I'm worried. Like the result, I don't care because I've never been to an NFL game, and so I'm pretty excited for that.
Right.
So, anyways,
Sounds like you had an epic week.
so that's what I'm gonna do in
Epic plans.
Brazil. Then Argentina. Argentina's so weird. Argentina, what's up with you guys? I have to have a serious talk with you. So I was planning my trip, and before that, I've had many friends that have been there, and they told me that everything there is super late. So they have breakfast at 10 a.m., lunch at 6 p.m., and dinner at 11 p.m. And parties there
Some
start at
very
3 a.m.
unusual times on that one.
Yeah, so here in
But
Mexico, for example, it's normal for people to have breakfast at 8 a.m., lunch 2, 3 p.m., and dinner 6, 7 p.m. And
that's
parties start at 11 p.m.
yeah, it sounds about right actually. And
So I
here in the
think
States,
the States has kind of a similar
it's
time.
similar enough, but it's different because of the way work works. So for like lunch, it's traditionally around like 11, 12 o'clock, maybe 1 if you wanted to push it. Dinner, yeah, like 5, 6 o'clock. But that's because of the stereotypical 9 to 5 job.
Yeah,
Because a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of jobs here in the States run from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or like for my shift currently 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., assuming you don't get held late or anything
I
else.
mean, here
But
it's the same,
it kind
but I think the lunchtime is just different here because kids get out of school
yeah.
at
And I
2
think
p.m.
the and I think the breakfast time is different too because of the way a lot of people's jobs work and because of stuff like breakfast I feel like doesn't fully exist here in the States either at the same time because a lot of people do like grab and goes like they go to Starbucks and grab a cup of coffee
Yeah.
or get donuts or something. I wouldn't really call that a breakfast, but that's like the
I
substitute.
think that
But that's generally
now that you mention it, when I was like in school or had class early in the morning, like breakfast was kind of like a speed through meal, and
yeah,
like
that's kind of
just
what
like
it
an
is.
hour before whatever you had first.
Exactly, because it's you're not eating like a full blown meal. You're not rolling by IHOP or Denny's or like
Yeah.
a breakfast
Yeah,
joint
that's like
here
more like
right there.
like during the weekend.
Exactly. Like, sure, if it's a day you have off from work, or yeah, like a weekend day or something. But if you're heading to work early in the morning, or you have a bit of time, you're grabbing like maybe like a breakfast sandwich or something. Like you're driving to work, you pull into a drive-through, you don't make a meal for yourself before you leave. So that's why I think it's a little earlier, like 5, 6 a.m. sometimes for people. Because I know with my work schedule, that's what I do. I don't go out to drive-throughs or anything. That's a lot of money that builds up over time if you're buying breakfast sandwich every day. But I do make breakfast for myself before I head into work, but it's usually not like a huge meal or anything like that either. I do find that kind of interesting though when you mention that with like Argentina for like the different times, because that's like it's a different way that you can kind of look at something like as simple as eating 3 square meals a day is extremely different
I
across multiple
mean,
different countries.
for me, if you're having breakfast at 10 a.m., that's brunch. That's just
That's kind of
brunch.
how it is here too. Like that's more geared toward like 11 or new. Like if breakfast, if you eat that at lunch, like around 12 or 1, that's generally what I've considered brunch, or what has been considered brunch from like what I understand. Which you could kind of argue that, but ultimately I think it's just another meal that you have at a
Yeah.
certain point in the day. I don't know if brunch typically needs to exist as an actual meal or food, but you know,
I mean, it's like a weekend activity again. Like you wake up later in the day on a weekend,
yeah,
maybe. So, I mean, I
something
have
like that.
breakfast always at 9 p.m., 9 a.m. I mean, and I have like a light breakfast, like what you mentioned. Like you grab an apple or a breakfast sandwich, like
Right,
before I
something
go.
like that. Yeah.
Like I go to train at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So like
Sometimes
on
we have
my
like a
right there, I have like an apple or something.
or like a protein bar, or like a protein shake or something like
Yeah, yeah,
that. I know
something
some
like
people
that.
do.
Yeah, something that isn't like super heavy on me. So
Yeah, but something that's going to kind of keep you full throughout the day, or at least like a decent chunk of it.
yeah, just
The
full
other half of it is,
during the workout.
yeah, something like that.
And then when
That
I
way it
get
kind of
home,
lasts there.
I make breakfast for my family, and and then turn
Exactly.
that into a TikTok, and it's
Might as well get some views out of it while you're trying to
yeah.
feed your
I
starving
woke up
family.
at
Why
5
not?
a.m. I might as well.
Dude, he's Jake Paul.
Anyways,
He's pretending to do nice things, but he's chasing
yeah,
clout.
I don't care about my family. What did you
No,
guys think?
screw them. Screw the people who love me unconditionally.
No, they
But
only
no,
love
that
me because
actually
I make breakfast for them. Screw them.
that kind of makes me think though too. Actually, now that you're mentioning like food and whatnot, it's never really something that we've discussed here. Have you? This is something I kind of thought of earlier today because I had a conversation with my sister about it. Have you ever had like a negative? Because when you can consider the scenario too, like with the different time zone, breakfast, lunch, and dinner thing we've been
Anyways, to
talking
wrap
about.
up my week, I basically just booked a bunch of restaurants in Argentina, and I'm only going to 2 museums. And in Uruguay, I still
Right.
haven't planned anything because I'm going to a film festival there, and my friend is gonna teach a class there, so I'm gonna come in and aid him. But that's it. Uruguay is still not planned what I'm gonna do
Nice.
there. Anyways, so
Nice.
yeah, Ryan,
I was
what
gonna
did you want to talk about?
I think the guy with the prompter cue cards behind you probably just lost his job because I think he just dropped all of them on the floor.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, our producer is looking at me and they're making hands. They're like, "Dude, you forgot to finish
yeah.
your week." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sorry." Anyways, Ryan,
So if anybody
what's
starts
on your
good at
mind?
holding cue cards
What's on your
and
mind?
can rapid fire them, you have a new job. But I did have an interesting question for you, kind of again tying into the whole different breakfast, lunch, and dinner time zone thing, like I mentioned before. When you have like a negative experience going to get food, and you generally like say you don't finish the meal and it ended up being like a bad experience, and you have to go to work, you typically don't eat the rest of the day unless you pack that kind of thing. So that
What
kind
do
of
you
led me
mean?
into thinking,
I'm not. I don't think
like
I.
if you're like you're hung I've what I'm this is kind of a build up to, have you ever had like a negative restaurant experience before in the past? Like have you ever had an experience before where it's been so
Oh,
bad that
okay.
you have never wanted to go back there again? I have one specific one in mind because generally when I've gone out to eat, no matter how many times I've gone out to eat at different restaurants, typically they've been fine. You do get used to them after a while if you live in the same area. But I've only had one time where it's been really negative, but it wasn't even for me. It was for somebody who was with me. But has that ever happened to you before? Or like you've had something that was so
Mm,
bad that you're like, I'm never going back here again.
I mean, I can think of like one example. Um, so me and my friend, we went to brunch once, and we saw this restaurant recommended to us on Instagram. So we went, and those. So when we got there, there was a line, but we got like relatively quick because we were just two people.
Right.
We got in really quick, and a lady in the table behind us said, "The service is really slow, so don't order drinks first and then order what you want. Just order everything
Right.
right now." I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks." But I think one of the waiters like heard that that lady said that out to us because they were like, it was like the quickest service I've ever had in my life. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Sounds like it kind of balanced out a little bit.
yeah. So I think we got lucky that the waiters were snooping on us,
Yeah.
so that was good. And then like I think I got like, I don't know if you know what chilaquiles are, but it's basically like tortilla chips in they're drowned in sauce, and there's
Oh,
like
it's
an
like
egg on top
nachos.
of it. It is like
Oh,
nachos,
no.
but a sort of the breakfast cousin of nachos because
I
there's
think I've
no
heard of that before,
cheddar
actually.
cheese. Like maybe there's beans, but no
That
cheddar
kind of
cheese.
sounds like that sounds like a Japanese egg dish I've heard about recently. Egg rice is what that kind of sounds like to me. Where you,
Uh, so
or maybe I'm thinking
that's the
mine's the
entire.
chips.
I think you just heard eggs and thought, well, it's an omelet.
Mine's the chips anyway.
And the
Anyway,
rice.
please continue with your story. You ordered
Um,
a meal.
and my friend, I think she got a quesadilla with some sort of like, I don't remember what else the quesadilla had, but so we had that for breakfast. I don't know, it wasn't a quesadilla. I think she got the same thing as I did, but like the meal was kind of average.
Right.
Like the food wasn't like the greatest thing. I got like a juice that they make there. That it was mint base, and it was really good. It was really refreshing. Like I think that was like the highlight of the meal.
Right.
And my
This
friend, she got a milkshake, but my friend, and that's how I know she didn't get the quesadilla. She's lactose intolerant,
okay.
so she got a milkshake, but she asked specifically for almond milk because she can't drink milk.
Right.
And and the waitress was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." She brings the milkshake. She takes one sip of it. She looks at me and she goes, "Oh no!" And she runs to the bathroom. And she does it. She returns like 40 minutes later, and she says, "I think that was normal milk."
Oh no.
So yeah, that's why we were like, "I'm never going back there," because
Oh
I
boy.
didn't think it was like bad, but I didn't think it was like
Right.
the best thing. Like if someone says, "Hey, we're going to brunch. Do you want to? We're going to this place." I'll probably go. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't
But you're not gonna.
horrible, but if someone says, "Hey, recommend a brunch spot,"
That won't be
I'm
your recommendation.
that's not even on my list.
No.
Like I would not recommend the place.
So my experience with it is actually a bit different than yours. It wasn't just because the food was subpar. That was the first and only time for me where, again, it wasn't even me. It was with someone who was with me at the time, one of my friends, and she got sick there. But she got sick. I did not. Like a severe case of food poisoning. There was this local.
That's my
There's this
biggest
local.
fear, dude. I've never
Yeah,
had food
you
poisoning
never
at a
want to see it
restaurant.
happen.
I'm so lucky there.
Yeah, so there's a local grill restaurant near my house about 10-15 minutes away that I have heard nothing but praise about. They serve all sorts of
Until
unique dishes.
then.
Yeah, yeah, until that fateful day. But I had heard so many good things about it. I've driven by it probably like 1,000 times on my way out to different, like grocery shopping, game hunting, whatever it is I'm doing. But I decided to give it a shot one day with a former coworker of mine who worked at the Dollar General I used to work at. At the time when I went there for my first visit, it was an average spot. It was an average spot. You know, they had like steak, chicken, barbecue. It was like a barbecue bar joint kind of thing. You know, it was fine for what it was. But the second time I went, several months later, I went with a friend of mine. Now, she had never been to this place either. And in all honesty, she really didn't know what to expect. I kind of told her, like, it's a decent joint, you know, something new we can kind of check out, you know, maybe this will be better this time around because my food was pretty subpar. You know, it's not like a horrible place, but it's not somewhere I would go for like my first choice. When we went there,
Yeah, it's
though,
like it's the I call them whatever restaurants. It's like
yeah, it's like it
you're
was a
already
whatever restaurant.
hungry. It's the only thing that's open.
Yeah. That was the status of it before my second visit. After my second visit, it became avoid this place at all freaking costs restaurant. So
Okay.
yeah, the second visit, we get seated in like the back bar part of the restaurant. You know, it's like a country themed kind of joint. So we're sat down there. I think I ordered like a plate of like chicken and fries at the time because that was something new I wanted to check out from the place because I had heard good things about their chicken. Which my meal was once again average. The food didn't really taste the best and it was way too expensive for what they were charging. I think for like a plate of tenders and fries and a sweet tea I think that was about like $25 or something like that, which is way too much
That's a
freaking
lot.
money. That is a lot of money. But that wasn't even the worst part about the trip. My friend who was with me, she ended up ordering I think it was like a barbecue, it was something barbecue related, like a sandwich or something, and she ended up getting like a few pork dishes on the side, you know, like cooked pork and like a few ceramic bowls that they brought out. And I think the meal was actually like pork centered of some sort, like a sandwich or something. But we start eating after the food gets there, and it takes a little while to arrive, longer than the last time I was there. She starts eating one of these side dishes that she gets, and she suddenly starts feeling sick. And she leans over to me, and she's like, "Hey, yeah," she's like, "This doesn't taste right. You know, it. I don't really like that." She stopped eating it after a while. She's like, "I don't want to keep eating this anymore. My stomach's starting to churn. Let's just finish this up so we can get out of here because she's not feeling very good." It was the start of food poisoning, as it turns out. We eventually, after she starts feeling pretty bad, like her stomach starts to act up and everything, we pack our food up in the restaurant after they bring us our containers and we start to leave. Now, the restaurant wasn't that far from the parking lot. The restaurant's here, there's a roadway, and the parking lot's fairly small. You know, we're walking across the road. The minute that we start walking into the parking lot, she immediately looks over me, pale as a sheet, and throws up in the middle of the parking lot. All of the food that she had just previously eaten not 10 minutes ago after we paid our bill. She gets sick right there in front of the entire restaurant, right there in the parking lot. And
Jesus
it was at
Christ.
that point where she turns to me and says, "We are never coming back to this restaurant again." And after seeing that happen, I'm like, if the food here is that bad that it made someone actively sick in front of me, I'm never coming back to this joint again. Plus, the food was already average to begin with. So to this day, over a year later, I have not set foot back in that restaurant, and I probably
Yeah,
never will
you
again.
shouldn't. You should return to that place.
I should just reported it for a health code violation or something as soon as I left.
Or often what happens is that like a restaurant can be very good at the beginning and it just becomes incredibly popular. And Ryan's getting rated. Everybody, I'm sorry.
So everybody, the aliens came to try and abduct me again. Fortunately, I warded them off this time.
Until next time.
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say is like there's this really good burger place in my city, and they broke like every like state record of most burgers sold in a year. It was crazy. Everybody loved this place. There was always lines outside, and genuinely they were very good burgers. Like they were like easily my favorite burger in town for a very long time.
Right.
But then because of the fame and then they opened more locations, I think they kind of dropped off. Like, maybe that's what happened to that restaurant. And, they had an
Maybe.
upcharge because it's kind of expensive to keep two locations. And.
I agree with that too, because unless you're like a chain restaurant like McDonald's or Burger King or something like that, a lot of local joints typically don't last. Because if you have a popular restaurant like in a certain town or city, most of the people who go there are locals. You know, it's not really going to be people like tourists traveling through,
Well,
and this is like, well, depending on the location. I know
I
for
mean, if
me
it's
around here,
like if it's like famous restaurant, if they're in like the Michelin guide or something
sure,
like crazy like that,
or one of Gordon Ramsay's ripoff restaurants in Europe or something along those
or
lines that
something,
cost you
yeah,
an arm and
something
a leg.
from a movie like
Yeah, something or like a recognizable celebrity or something like that.
owns it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, yeah. But that's my
Or we,
theory.
I would agree with that too. Unless you're
Hopefully, this show never becomes popular, so it can always be a great show that you can follow
hopefully,
on Instagram at topp.pod, and it's the same ad for TikTok. Remember, this show has a video version on YouTube, and we're available also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We got approved
yeah.
actually today or yesterday. I don't remember.
But thank you guys for checking out this episode of the podcast this week. Good, awesome to have you guys along for another great episode. Next week, guys, we will have a lot more topics and news to discuss with you all as per usual. I have a lot of topics in mind. I know Emilio does as well. So we'll have some more awesome stuff to talk about with you guys then. But thank you for checking it out. Check us out on all social media platforms, Instagram, and everything else Emilio mentioned. Definitely check out the Instagram. There's some cool content over there as well, where you guys can check out the shorts content and on YouTube.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.